theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive.
Hello, Suzy Wrong.
Hello, Warren. Have you ever had a friend or lover who is or was a bad influence on your life?
Oh, Suzy. Oh. That's a loaded
one
question.
you can say on air.
I'm not naming anyone on it. Yes, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm thinking of one in particular that opened up a whole new world that I knew nothing about at all. Nothing about at all. So, yes, I have. But then again, I mean, is it a bad influence or is it like just opening you up to what's going on in the world? What about you, Suzy?
It sounds like something really good and juicy.
It does, doesn't it? Pause.
I remember I was a very bad influence myself at school.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I was always distracting my friends from studying to go do silly time-wasting things. Well, to have fun, really. So I was the bad influence at school.
I would have found you really annoying at school. Do you know that?
Probably.
Now that I consider you a really close friend, we would have hated each other at school. I would, stop disrupting me.
Yeah, I was the one who said, that cafe, that cafe we went last time, I really want to go back there for this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I was always the one to do that. And these days, I think I've got something similar that I'm carrying on these days where I'm always encouraging my friends to spend money. So in a way, I am still that bad influence person. Yeah.
But yet, you're vegetarian. You don't drink. So, I mean, no. you don't, I suppose, stray your friends into other sort of areas, do you?
Well,
so you're not
now.
that bad.
Like I'm getting them to squander their money on buying, or going shopping, really.
What is it about?
I'm the one that says...
What is it about shopping, Suzy? Huh? What is it about shopping? What is it you love about it? Does it replace other things?
Probably does. It probably does. But I am a bit of a hoarder. No, actually, that's not right. I'm a collector of pop music artifact, I call them. So, like records and CDs and stuff. And I have gotten over any guilt that I might have had in the past about collecting too much of this stuff. And these days I just collect it with so much glee. They just give me so much pleasure and joy. And I feel like there are very few things that I can spend my money better, It actually does make me happy. So I have friends who share the same hobbies and I'm always encouraging them to just buy it.
Isn't that lovely? But Suzy, how do you fit in your pop artifacts with your Labubus?
The Labubus are a lot smaller collection than my massive record collection. The Labubus are small fry in comparison.
Are they still a thing?
They have died down a bit, which makes it easier to find. So that's nice. And because it's not at at a fever pitch. They aren't quite as expensive now, but I still enjoy them.
Now, have you talking about pop stuff? Have you got a glitter ball?
I don't have a glitter ball at home, no.
Do you know, I saw one out here. I might have to grab it for you, Suzy. I reckon you need one with all your pop stuff because today we're talking about Murder in Glitterball City. It's HBO. Suzy, give us your review.
It was the year 2009 when Jamie Carroll was murdered. He had been doing drugs and having sex with gay couple Jeffrey Munt and Joey Banis when one of them decided to take things much too far. In the two-part docuseries Murder in Glitterball City, streaming on Max, we observe investigations into that horrific murder, with Munt and Baines accusing each other of the heinous act. This all takes place in Louisville, Kentucky, where an estimated 90% of all mirror balls sold in the US during the 1970s disco craze were produced, and is now considered the most queer-friendly area of that state. The doco tells the story of 3 out gay men who were sadly heavily involved in drug use, specifically meth, and the devastating results of that lifestyle. Murder in Glitterball City, like many true crime documentary series, feels partly like tabloid-type storytelling with lots of lurid details that really spice things up, but it also allows us to look truthfully at elements of our community that often get swept under the rug. It doesn't say that if you imbibe in illegal drugs that you are likely to end up in a terrible situation like this, but it does say that the tragedy would not have happened if those drugs were not so readily available. Also interesting is the vast discrepancy in wealth between the two defendants, Munt and Baines, that resulted in the legal ramifications and injustice that the doco claims to have taken place. It seems that money will not protect you from falling into a life of darkness, but it can certainly get you out of trouble. As a fan of true crime, I found Murder in Glitterball City fairly engrossing. It doesn't have as many twists and turns as the best of the genre, and it misses an opportunity to look deeper into that underground life that the three main characters were part of. There are fascinating interviews with friends and family, some of whom are from the queer community, and they offer a glimpse of American queer life away from the main capitals. Warren, a penny for your thoughts about this one.
I love that. A penny for your thoughts. Suzy, do you know what? I didn't know that the mirror ball was invented in Louisville.
That is so unexpected, isn't it?
I know. And they called it Glitterball back then rather than a mirror ball. I didn't realise that. I was thinking, why is it called Glitterball City? But that's...
Do you call it a mirror ball?
A mirror ball. Do you call it a glitter ball?
Oh, I call it a disco ball.
A disco ball. Oh, my goodness. Here we go. 0427 569 949. I have got tickets to give away to Drag Week at Acme to someone who gets in touch now and tells us, what do we call them? Are they mirror balls, glitter balls, or what did you call it?
Disco ball.
Disco ball. 0427 569 949. Suzy, I'm not a true crime fan myself, but I watched this. I was watching it last night, and I was finding it a bit hard to get into, to be honest with you, at first. But then towards the end, I got it just completely engrossed me. I thought, oh my goodness, here's it's a real honest look at the other side of gay life. You know, it's not all glitter, rainbows, and drag to what a lot of people think about it. You know, there's addiction, there's extreme sex in there, there's, violent relationships as well. And you get to see this side of gay life. I like that part of it. It was really honest, a real honest look at it. But something that struck me, Suzy, was the fact that, we've got, I suppose, sometimes we don't choose necessarily what's right for us when we look at relationships. And I'm not just talking about intimate relationships, but friendships. We can sometimes choose what feels available to us. And, if you look at in this movie, there's scenes where they're in clubs, for example, and, validation there is visual and immediate. We get to find out immediately, someone might be interested in us. And I wonder how much sometimes we stay in something, whatever type of relationship it is, because it feels easier than being alone. And therefore...
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think isolation and loneliness is a very powerful emotion, and it takes a lot to not go for the easy solution. And it is incredibly sad. And also, I think I have a feeling, watching these three people, and I feel like there's this thing that people say, right, where you don't think you deserve more. And I feel like you can see that there, where I feel like they know that they're making, bad decisions. And it's almost like they're allowing themselves. Obviously, the drugs have a lot to do with it. It really impairs you. But there's a part of me that thinks that, maybe they think their life isn't going to be great anyway. And then they would just let this play out the way that it was playing out. And even though it clearly was leading to a really terrible place. I don't know.
I just want to say that, this is a conversation between Suzy and I, two friends. We're not qualified psychotherapists or psychologists or anything like that. But I just feel like, if if your self-worth is low, I know if mine's been low, attention can sometimes feel like affection, and it's easy to confuse it when it's not affection. It's just attention. And I know I've done, you asked me in the beginning, have I, had someone who has caused me to stray? Well, I think we've all stayed in something longer than perhaps we should have. And the learning from that was, for me, was how do you recognise the difference between being wanted and being valued? And I think
being wanted and being
valued, because I think when I looked at this relationship in this show that we're watching at the moment, which is Murder in Glitterball City, I felt like that was perhaps one of those relationships where, they were polar opposites, and I don't know whether they came together because of the attention that was given rather than necessarily being the right match for each other.
It's hard. It's hard for me to talk about things like that, because I feel like, it's not as if there's no love there, but love can take on so many forms, and love can look so terrible from the outside. And in this case, it really does look terrible from the outside. But who knows what they were experiencing inside before things went really bad. I can't say that, that they were brought together, through bad judgment or bad circumstances. Maybe it all started really well, and then it just went really badly, and they found it hard to take themselves away from it. But clearly, I feel like, as queer people, I think many of us have experienced that thing where we are harmed by our self-worth, our lack of self-worth, of having decades of being told that we are not making the right decisions, that we are somehow faulty. We're people that are broken, and I think that makes us I don't know, weaker. Is weaker a word? And then we kind of get into these
vulnerable.
Convenient, vulnerable. We're vulnerable to these bad situations, and like I said, we sometimes think we don't really deserve better. Oh, this is what it looks like in this show to me.
Suzy, the other thing that sort of comes across in this show, there's a lot of gossip in there, It's a very close-knit community. Everyone knows what's going on in each of the houses. An absolutely beautiful part of Louisville, can I say. I would love to go and see those Victorian houses. They looked absolutely amazing. And wouldn't you love a basement like that? I mean, not with obviously a body down the bottom, but how amazing was it? It was just it would solve all the storage problems, that's for sure.
There were these huge Victorian houses, and in a place, Louisville, where it's famous for being very haunted. So it does have a romance to it, if you're into that sort of stuff. I can see the appeal of it, and I can certainly see the appeal of, owning such huge properties with such long histories. But, I don't know who has the capacity to maintain those properties anymore. I'm surprised that it wasn't broken up into tiny little apartments.
I'm surprised too, but there was a lot of gossip there. And in those spaces, the interesting thing is your story can change overnight depending on who's telling it. And when you think about what we were saying before, Suzy, about, relationships as well, I think, where it all connects is because when you're in these spaces where you're vulnerable, you're being talked about, you're feeling wanted, it kind of all starts to blur together, and then you can be at the club, they can build you up all night, and then you can leave questioning everything on the way home.
It's very damaging, I think. But, when you are left to your own devices, being so kind of rejected from mainstream society, I think sometimes our worlds can turn very small and narrow, and then you just cling on to whatever that's available. And then when the drug dealers come knocking on your door, when it all becomes too easy to access, things get terribly wonky. Yeah, all people need to be cared for. All people need need a lot of care and tenderness. And when those of us are deprived of it, it is no surprise that some of us have such terrible conclusions.
Suzy, this one came in from Clinton in South Melbourne, said it is definitely a miracle because it's made of mirrors. I think you mean Mirrorball, do you? But I like that. Let's call them miracles. That's Clinton in South Melbourne. Clinton, I'm going to give you that pass, the 3-session pass to
Yay!
Drag Week at Acme for getting in touch. And another one, a really long one. Steve, the horn player, sent this in. Unfortunately, Steve, I can't read it out. It's a bit long, but a lovely poem there all about mirrorballs, which is really beautiful to read. We might even put that on our socials for you to have a look at. Suzy, Ron, we've run out of time, unfortunately. What are we watching next week?
Aichaku, streaming on the free platform Plex TV, tells a romantic story of two men in rural Japan. Check out Aichaku on Plex TV, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.